Members, prayers.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed official leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trust in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under the deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as promotion and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their church.
Amen.
Amen.
Item number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, we want to sincerely welcome you to today's sitting. Honourable members, as you may recall, this House passed the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Act 2021 on 9th December 2021, and also amended the Public Finance Management Act on 14th December 2021 to pave way for investment decision for Uganda in the oil industry. I'm glad to announce to you today that the long-awaited final investment decision has been communicated during the ceremony in Kololo, and the agreement has been finally signed. So the country is now in the VIP gallery. Today we have a delegation from the National Assembly of Zambia. I don't see them. We have a delegation from the National Assembly of Zambia that have come for benchmarking. we have the first deputy speaker, and then the second deputy speaker, and other staff of Parliament of Zambia. I think they will join us in the due course, but in absentia, they are most welcome. On a sad note, again, as we recover from the tragedy of losing the governor of Bank of Uganda, and also Honourable Gordon Arinda, we've again, on a sad note, lost Honourable Father Lokodo. Father Lokodo was with us here in the 10th Parliament. He was also a minister of ethics and integrity. He died in Geneva, Switzerland, and he was a very humorous person, a very nice person. And can we observe a moment of silence in his honor?
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you. Can we have matters of national importance? Yes.
Right Honourable Speaker, I stand and proceed on your communication. And as we are all aware, like you have communicated, we lost our colleague who was a member of this parliament and a minister in this country, and a very good colleague indeed. May his soul rest in eternal peace. However, Right Honourable Speaker, ever since Father Lokodo was pronounced dead on Friday, it is now 5 days, and the family was calling some of us. It is not clear when the remains of the father is being brought back to the country. The Human Rights Commission was running up and down, and up to now, they don't have a clear way. I think maybe because of issues that are beyond them or beyond us, Right Honourable Speaker. So would it be procedure right for the minister to tell us when the remains and the body of the late Father Lokodo will be brought back, so that we pay the last respect to him, Right Honourable Speaker?
Father, government. Father Lokodo was in Switzerland for official duty. And that's why we need to understand from government when the body will be here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Government is working with the Human Rights Commission, Madam Speaker, to ensure that the body of our friend, our dear friend, Father Lokodo, comes back home, and the details will be out by tomorrow of when he will be coming. So tomorrow we have the details.
Thank you. We wait to hear from government by tomorrow on when the remains of Father Lokodo will be brought back home. Thank you. Yes, procedure.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the country received the good news as the month of the new year was concluding, when the amicable resolution of the border impasse between Rwanda and Uganda was made. But the challenge is that the communication that we are getting from there is very confusing. As people would want to travel across the border, there are again restrictions. We don't know whether it is partially open, whether it is only restricted to cargo as an essential, and as they categorize the essential and non-essential, still there is no clear communication. So could you please use your chair to have the minister clearly make a communication on what is obtained.
Minister, yes.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank very, very much the two presidents for having silent meetings, and also thank General Muhoozi Kainerugaba for being a good speaker. But however, Madam Speaker, I do request that East African leaders and the messengers they send should put all the discussions in writing so that we don't stay in a guessing state. Why we are having challenges that they can allow some people to enter and some not to enter, some goods to enter and some not to enter, because all the discussions are not on pen and paper. It is therefore to add on the procedure of the whip of opposition that it is better as government. And that's why still I say, Madam Speaker, it will be proceeding well through my request to you, if the Minister for East African Affairs can be involved in these matters and should come to the House and give a statement. This has been so for a long time. Many times Kenya have been having such agreements with Uganda, not on pen and paper, and it has brought challenges on the borders. Therefore, Madam Speaker, it is my prayer.
By the way, just out of respect, Muhoozi is called General Muhoozi. He has a title. And can we have a statement from you?
Thank you. Madam Speaker, it is true that the Katuna border and Gatuna on the other side are now open. And the opening was yesterday. Madam Speaker, His Excellency the President briefed us in Cabinet. And on the side of Rwanda is open for cargo because all their borders are still observing COVID procedures, but the border is open, and it's good news to us that it has opened peacefully. So we want to thank the two presidents, President Yoweri Kagame and President Yoweri Museveni, for handling this matter amicably. Thank you.
I think the minister should give a clear picture to the country on the realities on the ground, because whatever we are hearing is on hearsay. Let's have a comprehensive statement on that.
So we will ask the Minister for East African Affairs to issue a statement, but that's the
Thank you. Honourable call. Yes, procedure.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the fourth schedule of our Constitution has a number of oaths that leaders are supposed to take when they are taking offices. They include the oath of a member of parliament, which every one of us took. And Madam, if you allow me, because the procedure issue I'm raising relates to this oath, because we all took the oath to swear in the name of the Almighty that will be and give faithful service to this parliament and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. My procedure issue is on upholding the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Madam Speaker, this week, there are festivities to remember the day a rebel group attacked a military barracks at Kabamba when the UPC government was in power. Can see my friend, Honourable Amongi. A rebel group attacked the barracks of Uganda. And as a result, we have this week the military remembering under Article 208209210, the makers of the Constitution did not want to be reminded of that bitter history, and therefore created an army called Uganda People's Defense Forces, which started after the promulgation of the 1995 Constitution. Today, we have an army created by this Constitution, celebrating and remembering when an illegal militia raided the barracks. Two, Madam Speaker, under this Constitution in 2005, a referendum was held and multi-party democracy was restored. The National Resistance Movement was the second party to register. And I remember the Honourable Bidandi Sari and Hachigong went to register NRM. But last week, there was a group claiming that NRM is 36 years and they spend taxpayers' money to remember the day NRM was born. Yet under this Constitution, NRM was born in 2005. There is no any other NRM that is legal under our Constitution. The procedural issue I'm raising, since we took an oath to uphold the Constitution, because everybody who went to those functions went there illegally, can the Attorney General, Madam Speaker, and you guide this Parliament, whether it will not be breaking this Constitution for a national army that was formed under this Constitution to organize and participate in activities remembering an illegal act of invading the barracks of Uganda. And two, whether taxpayers' money can be spent on celebrating a day of a non-existing entity, because NRM was born in 2005, registered by Haji Moses Chigongo and Honourable Bidandi Sari. The other one is not registered, it's not anywhere in the official books of Uganda. Madam Speaker.
Honorable Ibrahim, which one is the legal army that is celebrating?
Madam Speaker, I have said the UPDF created under this Constitution and under UPDF Act. I have seen them, they are in high gear, remembering a day, the National Resistance Movement, which was outlawed by the Constitution.
But you appreciate that the celebrations are being headed by UPDF, which is a legal entity.
Yes, Madam, UPDF is a Ugandan
Yes,
army.
Uganda is,
So,
UPDF
they
is
are
legal.
now participating in remembering any illegal activity.
They are celebrating their origin, where they came from. They are celebrating where they came from, just like you always celebrate where you started your birthday. So they are celebrating their birthday. And between me and you, Honorable, it has not started today when I'm on this chair. It has always been there. I think it was even there before I was born. Honorable Akol Anthony. Members, be brief with your matters of national importance.
Right Honourable Speaker, I raise some matter of public urgent national importance. Madam Speaker, on the 18th of January 2022, a group of people attacked the people of Apa when they were clearing the roads. And in the process, they looted some food items, they killed some animals, and then in the process of fighting, many people were injured. And I also read on the newspaper that 2 people were killed. Madam Speaker, this insecurity issue in Apa, I raised it on the 4th of August, 2021. when you were sharing the house. And you directed that the Ministry of Security should go on the ground and then to handle the issue. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, on the 2nd of November, the minister came on the floor of the House and you again directed the Minister of Security to go on the ground. At that time, over 150 people had attacked the village, the home of the people in Upper. Madam Speaker, as I talk, since 2017, there has been several attacks on the people of Upper, and those who come for attacking the people are either arrested and released, or they are never arrested at all. It is unfortunate that the people who are attacked for the last 4 days, they are being witch hunted, arrested from their homes in the different places where they are, and they are targeting people with big lands and those who are influential or in leadership position in the village. Madam Speaker, my prayer are number one, that this matter need to be investigated. The people who came to attack the people in Apa should be arrested also. I don't condone killing in this country, but I don't actually accept and agree whereby you penalize the people who are attacked and you leave people who come to attack the people in their own home state.
Information.
Therefore, Madam Speaker, I don't need anybody to inform me. I have the information. And therefore, Madam Speaker, as I talk now, my prayer number one, that you should direct again the government. I know this country has a government, to make sure that this issue is handled with seriousness. I am passionately tired of coming on the floor of Parliament all the time to raise the issue of APA when there is existing government in this country, and then the people who are attacking the people are being protected by the government. I beg to move.
Thank you. Honorable. You know, I got 2 members who want to raise the same issue about APA. One is Honourable Babiko and Honourable Akol. I really want us to resolve that as a house, we have failed to handle the APA issue. Let cabinet handle the issue of APA. We cannot continue having conflicting fights in the house. Cabinet should solve the issue of APA. Government.
Madam Speaker, if you
Honorable Chair, I thought you have a slot to speak.
We request for a week so that we come to the floor of the House and tell you the final
Order, Madam
conclusion
Speaker.
on this matter.
Order, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Order on who?
Madam Speaker, I was ordering the minister, but they
Order on who?
I was ordering the minister for giving the August House a week. Moreover, this matter has been on the floor. In the last Parliament, they used to say 7 days, 3 days. Now he has again said a week.
Honorable Babiko.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, for this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, the matter I request to raise is on the attack specifically on 19th of last month.
This was on 18th?
Mine is on 19th.
Yours is on 19th.
Yes. 4 people were attacked in their gardens in Aliwara village, Mongola Parish, Itirikwa sub-county. Out of the 4, 2 were killed in cold blood, and 2 are seriously injured. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this is my 11th year in Parliament. My life has been characterized by mourning people who are killed in cold blood under the watch of the government that I serve. These are my prayers government should tell us when exactly it is going to resolve this matter. And we are ready to receive any response, whether in our support or not. We are not asking for a favor. Two, my second prayer is, we are requesting His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, to visit the scenes of the massacres, to visit. Because last year when we met him, he promised that in December, he was going to sort out these things. We have been losing people. He is the president that I support. This is the government that I support. My people are in tears. Right, Honourable Speaker, those are the two prayers I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jessica. It's really bad that people are killing themselves. These are people who have intermarried themselves. These are people who are neighbors. We need to resolve this issue. It is basically the issue of boundary issue. And that is what was happening in Tororo. We are happy in Tororo, we got a report. We are only waiting for a report to be tabled in this house and a decision to be taken. So government, give us the same response in 1 week's time on the two prayers.
Madam Speaker, as you have heard the Honourable Member Jessica, this matter has been handled at the highest level of leadership of this country. And as I said, give us 1 week, we'll be able to come and brief this House our final direction about this matter. So next week on Tuesday, we'll come to this floor. Thank you.
Members, let's not continue lamenting in this House on the same issue. Let's have this issue resolved. Whether it hurts one side or what, we will accept the results. But this business of people killing themselves must stop. Members had announced we had a delegation from the National Assembly of Zambia who have come to visit our mighty parliament. They are here for benchmarking and share experience from their parliament. We have the first Deputy Speaker, that is Right Honourable Attractor Malungo. You're most welcome. Thank you for coming. We have the second Deputy Speaker, Right Honourable Moses Frank Moyo. Welcome. We have Miss Cecilia Sikatele, the Deputy Clerk. Cecilia, you're welcome. We have Mr. Jimmy Sabi, Deputy Principal Clerk. Welcome. And then we have Mr. Andrew Makupa, the Protocol Officer. Most welcome. This is the Parliament of Uganda, and thank you for joining us. Welcome. Honorable Akelo Beatrice.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. Members of the 11th Parliament would like to raise a matter of national importance to this august House. Aware that I represent the people of Agago in this august House, members, I stand before you with great pain because of what is insecurity that is taking place in Agago district as a result of atrocities caused by Karamojong warriors.
Can you correct your statement? They are not Karamojong warriors, by cattle rustlers.
Cattle rustlers.
Because you may
Right,
not know
Honourable
whether they are
Speaker.
Karamojongs.
Okay, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker.
Honorable members, order in this house, we have Karamojongs.
Yeah, the
I
cattle
don't want to harm
as a-
anybody.
As a result of cattle restaurants in Agago, we have lost 3 lives in the past 3 months. And as I stand before you today, again, there's 1 person who was shot this morning, but we thank God that he survived, he's in the hospital, would have met the 4th person. And some people are displaced in IDP camps because of these cattle rustlers who are moving with guns, terrorizing them from their villages, and now they have decided to go back to IDP camps again. And most of the sub-counties bordering Karamoja sub-region, they have lost almost all their cows, their cattle, due to these rustlers, and it is becoming a very big concern in the district. Madam Speaker, I can give you some few incidences. For the past 3 months, we have lost 180 cows. Out of this, only 35 has been recovered. The rest, we have not recovered them. Also, on the 24th of January, we have lost a 42-year-old man called Mr. Ochaya Ensio from Omia Paswa, Chap County. And on the 7th of last month, we have lost Mr. Oboke Benjamin and Mr. Oyaro Charles from Lirakato sub-county, making 3 people who lost their lives because of these rustlers. And we have a displaced camp in Lapono sub-county in Amiel parish.
What are your prayers?
My prayers, Madam Speaker.
Can we have your prayers?
Let me first finish the prayer. Madam Speaker, I pray. Madam Speaker, I pray that Ministry of Works and Transport should open security roads. Security roads linking Kotido and Agago district, Labuoduong, Longo, Kacheri, and Kotido. We are also praying that a security road from
Minister of Works, there is a prayer on you.
Odom.
So Honorable Mutembule should not take your time. Can you repeat your prayer on works?
Number 1, we are praying for security roads linking Agago and Kotido district via Laboroduong, Training Wing, Longo, Kacheri. Then another security road from Odom, Kato, Kulugwe to Orom. The last one from Abim to Kakao via Longo. The second one is requesting Ministry of ICT to provide us with a telecommunication network, because most of those areas are without network. So whenever these rustlers can raid the people, it is very difficult to give information to the soldiers for rapid response. So we are also praying that Ministry of ICT can consider putting telecommunication masks in those areas surrounding Karamoja. Then the Office of the Prime Minister should help us provide relief food for the people who are displaced in the IDP camp. We also pray that government should consider compensating those who have lost their lives to these cattle rustlers, since we are aware that it is a responsibility of government to protect life, people, and their property. Then, second last, we pray that if the Prime Minister can organize a dialogue, Office of the Prime Minister can organize a peace dialogue between the bordering districts like Kitgum, Agago, Otuke, Abim, and the Karamoja districts, would help us to coexist. I also pray that government should consider putting a market, a border market at Koroken.
Achon, can you leave Honorable to finish, then you come with what you want to say?
This is a presidential pledge. The president pledged this in 2018 12, when he went for victory celebration in Agago, NRM victory celebration.
Is that a
In
matter of
2012, to put a border market.
Honorable Agaku, that's not a matter of national importance.
Okay. Then lastly, we also pray that Ministry of Defense should create more military dispatches in the affected areas. Thank you so much, Madam
Thank
Speaker.
you. Thank
Information.
You know, we agreed that you don't ask to speak when the microphone is on. Dawood. Let Honorable John first bring his issue, then you'll add. I am not going to allow firefighting because I have seen somebody from Karamoja standing up. Karamoja is standing up. Now Acholi is standing up. Lango is also standing up.
Yeah.
Members? Members?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. The issue which is burning me up so hard, if I had not spoken, I think would be a big damage in my lung or the heart. Just last night, we bought a beam or took the cattle wrestlers. It's hard to avoid the word Karamoja or the Karamoja because they come from that angle, not from Acholi or Tyson. So by all means, you have to make that announcement. Yesterday, they raided for 5 hours, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Achon, I ruled no using Karamojong.
Withdraw the
They
statement.
are cattle wrestlers.
Yes, so I withdraw the statement. So, Honorable Speaker and the House, yesterday they raided for 5 hours. And unfortunately, they killed a woman who was pregnant and was supposed to give birth next month. The security responded after 5 hours. After these people really had already raided a lot of animals. So the issue that I wanted to raise, Madam Speaker, I think we would seek for government really to deploy enough security in all those regions of the border. It's something that we should not be killing one another, as just stated. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a really very serious matter. It is affecting all border areas, including my own district. Minister, even Sebe is about to stand up, but I'm telling them, please, the response will be one.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, honorable colleagues, for raising this matter. Madam Speaker, the Minister for Defense and the Minister for Internal Affairs will follow up this issue to make sure that it is handled. And if need be, they will brief cabinet. But we are going to take up this matter to the Minister of Defense and the Minister of Internal Affairs to follow up the matter.
Can we have a response on this matter on Thursday? It's about people's lives and people's cattle.
Madam Speaker, we will make the statement to that.
Come make a statement on Thursday on what action you've taken as government on this matter and protecting people's lives. Honorable Praha.
Right Honorable Speaker, colleagues, honorable members, I'm raising on the matter of national importance. Right Honorable Speaker, as you are aware, with the outbreak of COVID-19, the President of Uganda, guided by a Minister of Health, came up with standard operating procedures and restricted the movement in something called the curfew. You are aware, honorable members, majority of the Ugandans were naive and little did they know about curfew and other restrictions in the country. Now that the country has been released, the economy has been opened, curfew has been lifted. Majority of our colleagues, relatives, abrogated the curfew and standard operating procedures, and they've been arrested. You remember and bear me witness that at one time, the prison's mouthpiece came here and told us how the prisons were targeted with all of these people and the influx coming as a result of people violating standard operating procedures and curfew. So now, the prayer that I have, that the president has recently pardoned some of the prisoners of whom we don't know what they did to people. As you are aware, somebody was talking about how several governments have rolled on. Some governments came in power after killing people, stealing people's animals, recruiting child soldiers, robbed banks, but they were given an opportunity. And some of them had a chance to test the cells in Ruzira and so many other sister institutions, but they were given a lifeline to come. That's why they are leading this country.
Honourable.
Right, Honour Speaker, I'm deriving a point. Allow me to derive a point. So they are leading this country in a manner that has got different reflections.
There's an order.
Of which?
There's an order. Sit.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I rarely stand on a point of order, but Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Member is referring to some
members on this side who kindly respect the Honourable Member.
That robbed, he says robbed banks, he said stole people's animal. Is in order to mention all this without substantiating and mentioning exactly which group is talking about.
Honourable members, when you continue making noise when I've given you time to speak, I will stop you. Bring your issue what you want. If you want the president to pardon, for your information, it is only the president who can pardon. Make a request that these people should be pardoned. Not going into zigzag that they stole cows, they did what? You mean somebody can be arrested without doing anything? Can you make your prayer?
Thank you for your guidance. My prayer, one, is that you are aware that schools were opened. My prayer, can we join hands and vocals, both through the Speaker, the Minister of Interior, the Prime Minister, to beseech the President to pardon these people so that they can cater for their people. The second prayer is that, Right Honourable Speaker, these people have dwelled in prison for so long. If possible, as they are going back home, something should be prepared for them to start with in the Nabanja-like manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, I want us to learn some negotiation kind of language. When you're negotiating for something, bring it in a good way. You don't have to go through like what is being said. Anyway, government, the House is requesting, there are some members who are in prison, they need to be pardoned, and we need to decongest prisons.
Madam Speaker.
Because we have more potentials like Basalero.
Madam Speaker, there is a committee of prerogative of mercy chaired by the Attorney General, according to the law, which advises the President on who should be given mercy or not given mercy. So I'll pass over this information to the Attorney General to consider it and advise the President accordingly.
And maybe the deputy, the shadow attorney general should also compile a list on this side with the justifications as to why you're saying these people should be pardoned and that kind of thing. So the shadow should work with the shadow defense or security.
Well, that would be wonderful if the law permitted the shadow to make a contribution in respect of that, because the prisons would now be empty. But unfortunately, to my understanding, it's only after a conviction that the prerogative of mercy can be invoked. But we will still get back to our side and look at the list of those in the prisons on conviction in respect of minor offenses.
Yes.
And then send the list maybe through you, Madam Speaker, for onward transmission to the committee, advisory committee on prerogative of mercy.
Yeah, look at the convictions with the minor offenses and have a chat with your colleague on the other side, and we see what can be done. Honorable Muzale.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Martin Muzale, MP Buzaya. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise on a matter of national importance. On the 26th of January, we got an incident at Padengo Primary School. Fire burnt down a dormitory that was housing P1 and P2. As we were still handling that incident, again, fire broke down, burnt down another dormitory of P7 girls. Right Honourable Speaker, as we speak now, the children were sent back home as we try to find a solution to the problem. All their mattresses, books, beds were burnt down. Right Honourable Speaker, even the 2 blocks were also burnt down. We are asking the government, or our prayer is that government, through the Minister of Disaster and Relief, should come in to rescue our children, especially on accessories. Again, on the same note, Right Honourable Speaker, we are asking Minister of Education to come to our rescue, because as we speak now, the children will be back in the 2 weeks, after the 2 weeks, but we have nowhere to house them. So we are asking Minister of Education to come in as early as possible so that we can have a possible solution for our children. I thank you.
Thank you. I think Honorable Aloysius had the same issue. Aloysius? Then the minister will respond at once.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, before Parliament went into recess last year in December, I raised a matter relating to the preparedness of police fire brigade to respond to emergencies in case of a fire outbreak in Uganda, and I was seeking an elaborate response from the Minister for Internal Affairs. Right Honourable Speaker, I was referring to a rampant fire outbreak in which many lives have been lost and property worth billions destroyed. This was in relation to the high-stored buildings which are being erected across the country, the poorly planned housing structures which do not allow access of fire emergency response services, especially in slum areas, and slow response by police fire brigade in case of fire outbreak. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, I did not get a response from the Honourable Minister. Since then, Right Honourable Speaker, the country has witnessed an escalation of serious fire incidents, especially in school dormitories. In these incidents, young innocent pupils perished and property was destroyed. Our case in point is 5 people, of course, who died in twin fires incidents on 15th January 2022, a new Christ Junior boarding school in Kawempe Division, Kampala, and another one at St. John's Nursery School Primary in Chotara District. 10 days later, on Wednesday, 26th January 2022, twin fires which gutted dormitories in the same district of Kamori where the Honourable member.
Your item is on the order paper as a notice of business to follow. So wait for a response. It's on the order paper.
So my prayer is
Kindly-
right, Honourable Speaker.
It is on the order paper.
Thank you.
Respond to.
Madam Speaker, on the emergency issue from Busoga, this was brought to our attention as government, and the Honourable Esther Anyekun should
Members, free sitting. I can see space this side. Free sitting. Imat, you can come and sit as the Prime Minister here.
Madam Speaker, the representative of the Prime Minister is already there, so that seat might not be available. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Minister for State Minister for Disaster Preparedness will follow up this matter, is already aware of it. And I also informed the Minister for Education on the part of the education and come back to you. But colleagues, as soon as an emergency like this happens, please let us not even wait to raise it on the floor of the House. Let's approach government and we see what can be done immediately. Thank you.
You see, if you want to object to what the minister is saying, you stand up and speak. Don't say no. Let's not shout like it's a market. Eh? Yes.
Right, Honourable Speaker, first of all, I'd love to salute the minister for his response. However, on the last piece of his response, I would love to officially object and on the record. It's only very, very important that the members' issues from their constituencies are captured on record here as quickly as possible. And you know, with our communities, they have that feeling that when they see that Parliament is speaking to their matters on the floor, they feel something is happening. Therefore, I would think, yes, we can do the other work at the background with the ministries, with the permanent secretaries, the technocrats, but this house is for speaking and speaking on issues of the people. Let me take that information.
Honorable Minister, that is a very serious matter on the school that got burned. I am asking the Minister of Education to go to Kamuli tomorrow, assess the impact of the fire, and take action. Our children stayed at home for 2 years. Now we cannot afford having children out. We have a Minister of Primary Education. The minister must go to assess the impact and have the children back at school. Honorable Pendi.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise on a matter of national importance regarding the girls, some of whom are pregnant, some gave birth, and it was clear as per government's directive that these girls should be allowed in school. Schools opened on 10th, and Right Honourable Speaker, it's very unfortunate that some of the girls have since been sent home because they are pregnant. These girls did not want to get pregnant. We were in a lockdown. Yes. We were in a lockdown, Right Honourable Speaker, for 2 years. We know that some of these girls were raped.
Honorable Sarah. The girls got pregnant. You don't have to justify how they got pregnant. It is not government that impregnated them. They were not raped, but they got pregnant. The issue is the girls must go to school.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I did present here a motion on the challenges faced by the girl child that was debated. And in that report, it was clear that some of the girls had been defiled, some had been raped, some got pregnant out of just, excitement, casual relations. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I do not see the Minister of Education here. But it is very unfortunate when Bishop John, forget the name, Sebagala, did mention or gave a directive that none of the schools should allow these pregnant girls in school. Yes. And Right Honorable Speaker, since then, the church-founded schools have sent away, some of them have sent away girls from school. Right Honorable Speaker, no girl should be denied education. No girl should be denied a chance to be in school if she can be in school. His Excellency the President has also talked about this, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, our prayer, Right Honorable Speaker, is that these girls should be allowed to be in school. We have a motion, Right Honorable Speaker. I don't see the Minister of Education here, but if it is right, Right Honorable Speaker, we could have the Minister here as I table this motion officially on a date that could be given by you, Right Honorable Speaker. But the situation, Right Honorable Speaker,
There is an
not
order
good.
here. There is an order.
Madam Speaker, government corrects taxes. And it made a pledge to make a primary school available in every parish and a secondary school available in every sub-county. It is a duty of government to educate Ugandans. The church and other tertiary institutions, religious tertiary institutions, are just helping. And there is no way the church will go against the biblical teachings allowing pregnant people into school, in a church or in a mosque. Is the honorable member in order? Moreover, a former minister who is aware that the duty to educate Ugandans rests squarely with the government and who is God-fearing. Is she in order to now rewrite the policy that that responsibility should be shared by the church, by the mosque, instead of her, a member of parliament, former minister, a God-fearing person, president of WOPA, pleading with the government to execute its responsibility? Is she in order?
Members, I think for us to discuss this thing exhaustively, you need to come up with a motion to this effect. And then we look at it in depth. We cannot make a ruling now whether the church should allow the students, whether they should not. Of course, there is a pronouncement by the president that these girls should study. And it is also a known fact that we have schools in every sub-county. Yes, information from gender.
Thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister.
I am not a prime minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker.
My name is Honourable Monge.
Yes, Right
I
Honorable
am a
Speaker.
deputy speaker who was voted with 415 votes, not appointed.
Right Honorable Speaker, because now I have to address you as a speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to give information that the pronouncement or statement by the bishop has been discussed, but also that the vice president and the first lady and the Right Honourable Prime Minister and Minister of Education, First Lady and Minister of Education, yes, and the Right Honourable Prime Minister are heading a national campaign on this matter. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is coordinating a multi-sectoral approach that has drawn a strategy on this matter. If this House would want, we will be able to bring to the House the multi-sectoral approach targeting the UN agencies, civil society, government, and other agencies in addressing the matter, not only in the aspect of those who want to go to school, but there are those who now want to go for other option of skilling. So we will be able, yes, I will get the clarification very gladly.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you, Right Honourable
Thank you
Speaker.
for-
Thank you, Madam
Right Honourable Speaker, we'll be able to bring our motion. It's actually ready. And just to inform the Honourable Semu Uganda that schools are grant aided, these church-founded schools are grant aided, and therefore they receive funding from government, but also pay allegiance to their
Thank you.
founders. Thank you, Right Honourable
We'll
Speaker.
wait for the motion to be brought. Hajat, you will speak to the motion, and I know you will support the girl child. The boy child, yeah, the ones who are bad. Members, we've spent a lot of time on this. We have a lot of, yes,
Thank you.
Aisha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. I just wanted to inform both the minister and the honourable colleague. We had a tour around the schools, and we found actually that pregnant girls might not be comfortable in the schools because on a desk of 4 children, they are too big to fit on the desk. They cannot fit. So the congestion in the classes and the sitting environment in the classes, the desks are not fitting for the pregnant girls to continue studying. That's the information I needed to give you.
Members, will wait for the motion to be brought and will debate to it. Order. Can we have Macho, then next item? Macho.
Madam Speaker, my colleagues, we have a matter of national importance that is disturbing the people of Busia. Madam Speaker, as I talk now, trailers that are going to Kenya take more than 5 days standing on the border at customs. And these trailers have blocked all the shops on both sides, making the sales of merchandise to be a problem to our people. And Madam Speaker, secondly, as long as these trailers are there, we don't know what the drivers eat are causing a disaster to the women on the borders. Madam Speaker, we had a committee of trade visiting, and they agreed with me that life in Busia is not as normal. Madam Speaker, secondly, we are blessed that we are given a value addition factory in Busia, and I came to the House, requested the Minister of Trade to give us the guidelines how to operationalize the value addition factory. My brother, the Minister, Honourable Bahati, promised to come back in 4 days. Up to now, we see that the machinery is rotting. Madam Speaker, therefore my prayer, number 1, information.
Can we go to the next person if you cannot give us your prayer?
Madam Speaker, my prayer therefore next time. My prayer therefore the Minister of Trade should come to this August House and tell us how this problem of trailers overstanding and parking on the borders, because the problem that is affecting us in Busia is affecting Malaba and Mutukula, can be solved as quick as possible. Last prayer, Madam Speaker, the minister should tell us now how Busia municipality can have guidelines to operationalize the value addition factory, which was commissioned 2 years ago and made NRM get votes, but up to now, it is not working. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
On the issue of the trucks, our ministry will come with a statement tomorrow to give you an update on how that matter has been resolved, because we have a committee which has been chaired by the Prime Minister, including the Minister of Health and our ministry. So tomorrow we can come up with a statement. On the issue of
as you come with a statement, we'll also need a statement from the Committee of Tourism on what they found out in their oversight role. Next item.
On the last issue of the value addition equipment, can I request you, Minister, to have a meeting with you tomorrow in your office? Then I can update you on how far we are going. Thank you.
Next
Item number 3.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Item.
Item number 3, statement by Minister on the cash transfer to teachers in private primary and secondary schools.
Honourable members, I've told you, if you have a matter of national importance, bring it early so that we summon the ministers to be here. Don't just hijack things on the floor. All of us here are all these people have matters, but you don't just hijack. Can you sit?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
It's not about life and death.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, honourable colleagues. I rise to make a statement on the current program of cash transfer to teachers in private primary and secondary schools. It's uploaded on your iPad.
Members, do you have it on your iPad? The cash bonus of 100,000.
Following the successful implementation of the COVID-19 cash transfer to persons whose daily income was disrupted by COVID-19 lockdown in Kampala, cities and municipalities from July to September 2021, the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development was approached by Give Directly, an international NGO, with additional funds to support other vulnerable persons disrupted by COVID-19 containment measures. After consultations with several stakeholders, including Office of the Prime Minister and Ministry of Education and Sports, a decision was reached to target teachers in private primary and secondary schools. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, teachers in private schools were rendered vulnerable since March 2020, when COVID-19 forced a nationwide lockdown. While the vast majority of sectors fully or partially reopened, and many people returned to work during the period, the education sector remained closed. By the time schools started reopening on 10th January 2022, teachers in private primary and secondary school had missed income for close to 2 years, which made it difficult for them to provide for their families. Even when they have returned to school, they still face challenges. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, Give Directly is an international NGO that focuses on poverty alleviation and humanitarian relief through cash transfers. You may recall that the operations of Give Directly were suspended in September 2020 following concerns that were raised by the NGO Bureau. This is to inform you that the suspension on their operations was lifted by the NGO Bureau in November 2021. The cash relief program, under this program, will support 300,000 teachers across the country, and each teacher is supposed to receive 100,000. Government of Uganda, in partnership with Give Directly, have earmarked 30 billion for teachers and 844 million for taxes plus sending and withdrawal fees. The objective of the cash transfer program to teachers in private primary and secondary schools are to provide temporary cash relief to the teachers in private primary and secondary schools whose income sources were disrupted by COVID-19 containment measures for close to 2 years. 2, to support the teachers as they return to the classroom and foster collaboration between government of Uganda, civil society, in addressing the negative impacts of COVID-19 on the vulnerable population. Colleagues, the teachers eligible for this program are those that fit the following criteria. They must not be on government payroll. They must be duly registered or licensed by the Ministry of Education and Sports, or have proof of submission of application for registration if it's a school which is not registered, or application for licensing if the person is a teacher. This should be teachers that were already teaching in a school licensed or registered by the Ministry of Education and Sport and did not benefit from the June to September 2022 Government of Uganda COVID-19 cash relief program and have a mobile money account registered in their name. What are the process of uploading the online data? This is important because some of you can contact your ed teachers from those schools to upload their data to be able to be supported. As per the online data collection system process, the ed teacher of a school are the one responsible for creating the school account on our online system through which beneficiary teachers' information is submitted. Registration is done through the online data collection system, which is www.cashrelief.mglsd.go.ug, by capturing the ed teacher's personal details plus respective school information, which includes the school name, the license number, physical address, the level that is indicate whether it's primary or secondary, and administrative unit. On completion of the school registration process, the ed teachers are then required to upload their teachers' personal details on that same online system. This includes the name of the teacher, the NIN number, the school name, the administrative unit, the gender and phone number, and the online data of the Ministry of Gender will then collect the system. Upon upload, the data is transmitted to the education officers in charge of the districts. In the case of KCCA, the TC of the divisions, cities or municipality for recommendation. Upon recommendation from those officers, the data is conveyed to the chief administrative officer or town clerks, who confirms and forwards to the commissioner, private schools and institutions in the Ministry of Education and Sport. The commissioner, after confirmation, endorses the data and then conveys it to the permanent secretary, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. The ministry, the permanent secretary, Ministry of Gender, will then make the payments, the final approval and payment through the mobile money attached in the registration, and it's only either MTN or Airtel is the two mobile money transfer we are partnered with. Progress of implementation of the cash transfer. Following the progress of the implementation of the program, the following has been undertaken: an Inter-Ministerial Oversight Technical Committee with membership from Ministry of Gender, Education, Office of the Prime Minister, Local Government, Internal Affairs, ISO, and NITA-U were constituted, Justice and Constitutional Affairs and NITA-U were constituted and is overseeing implementation of the program. The Ministry of Gender has issued a circular providing implementation guidelines to KCCA Executive Director, Chief Administrative Officers, and Town Clerks. The Ministry of Gender online data collection system has been upgraded with support from NITA-U to facilitate efficient collection, verification, and transmission of the data required. All users such as ed teachers, education officers, CAOs, and town clerks have been trained on the use of the system, and data collection have commenced. As at 7:20 p.m. on 31st January 2022, 1,433 ed teachers stroke schools had submitted a total of 11,531 teachers out of the targeted 300,000 beneficiaries across the country. Arrangements have been concluded with the telecoms, MTN, and Airtel, through which successfully verified beneficiaries are being paid. Information from local governments, however, shows that there are low submission because of the following reasons. Some teachers in private schools are not registered by Ministry of Education and Sports, and therefore are not eligible for the cash relief. Also, some teachers are part-timers in various private schools, and they include some of those already on government payrolls. The activity also coincided with the school reopening program across the country, and a number of education stakeholders had split commitment to the project. Also, lack of digital skills by some of the ed teachers are making it hard for them to upload onto our system, and some lack internet or have poor internet connection in remote areas, which is impeding the upload of data. In view of the above, the following recommendations have been proposed by the Technical Oversight Committee: that we should intensify mobilization of beneficiaries and other stakeholders through radio announcements on 10 regional stations which have commenced. We should call ed teachers to embrace the program and upload more beneficiary data, undertake mobilization of ed teachers, DEOs, CEOs, MEOs, as well as CAOs and TCs through Ministry of Education and local government telephone calls and email. We commenced payment process on Friday, January 2022, with beneficiary data that would have been processed through the system. Relax some of the criteria for beneficiary selection as proposed below. So these are the proposals to relax that. If possible, we include teachers in vocational training institutions and health training institutions as eligible category of beneficiary. That instead of paying 100,000, we increase payment to 200,000 per beneficiary. That the total beneficiary targeted number for relief package be adjusted downwards to 150,000, and it will be on first come, first serve basis in that proposal. And therefore, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I would like to request you as representative of the people where these schools are located to mobilize the ed teachers in your constituency to upload data of eligible teachers onto the online data system to enable them benefit from this cash relief program. I thank you and submit.
Thank you, Honourable Minister of Gender. Honourable members, I want to thank government for the interventions that is really trying to bring in to address the effect of COVID-19 pandemic in our population. The cash transfers, for example, is really good initiative, but the onus is on us to offer an effective oversight role on these programs on behalf of the people of Uganda under the authority vested on us in the Constitution, Article 1, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. That's why it is imperative for us to receive this report on what it is aimed at, what do they want to achieve, do they have a register of the teachers, who is doing the audit after that, is it going to be like the previous 100,000 that was sent to the COVID people? So it's good for us to get this report so that we analyze it, we debate on it, we come up with the solutions on what we should do as legislators. I will open a debate strictly for 20 minutes. Aisha, Bish. Yes, Aisha. Is that Aisha?
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Chair. Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. Thanks to the Minister for that statement. We got circulars about that program. And after I got the circular, I went to my district to find how far it had gone. Of course, I realized there is very little to register the teachers. And I'm happy the Minister knows all the problems because she has enumerated them. No internet, lack of knowledge, all the hindrances she knows. But when it came to recommendations, none of the recommendation is addressing the problems, none of them. Instead, they have said that they will increase money. The reason they want to increase money because many of the teachers have actually not registered. It is estimated that we have 300,000 teachers. Out of 300,000, only 7,000 have registered. Now, when you say we want to give those that have registered and leave others, we are not solving a problem. It is the conditions they gave, they are restrictive in nature, as though there was a big number that they wanted to cut. They are not looking forward to helping people. When you say we go to vocational schools, the most suffering teachers are actually those in primary schools. And we know that there are many, many primary schools with teachers that are not registered, we know. And they don't perform less, by the way, because you know, as much as I know, that private schools are performing better than our own schools. So what have we done? Instead of putting a very restrictive program, because that was not the intention of the donor. The intention of the donor was to help those people. But instead, we've made it so restrictive that we fail our people to access that money. I pray, all right, Madam
First,
Minister.
2 minutes each.
Yes, as I summarize, that we simply do not look forward to cutting up. We don't look forward to cutting numbers of people to receive money, but it should solve the problem. And people have not been able to register because of internet. Let's solve that. Thank you.
When the system cuts you off your request, members, the Honourable Ministers brought this paper to us. We discuss. She has pointed the challenges. Now, the solutions are supposed to come from us. We are the representatives of these people. If these people cannot have access, let's go down there and ask people, we have this kind of package. How do we make our people achieve? So we should be part of a solution. It's not about, let's not criticize the paper, but let's get a solution to what we should do to our people. Bish?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. My name, for record purposes, is Roland Njomujeni, and I represent the people of Ruchiga. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank the Minister for bringing this report to us. And as you have rightly guided, it is very important that we get solutions to some of these problems. But most important, Right Honourable Speaker, it is a challenge for teachers to be registered by the Ministry of Education and Sports. And that challenge cannot be discussed here because it is like a systemic challenge that the Ministry of Education needs to look at and ensure that teachers are registered, Right Honourable Speaker. Now, if it is a criteria for accessing the money by the Ministry of Gender that someone must be registered,
and yet it is not the problem of the teacher not to be registered by the Ministry of Education, then it becomes restrictive, it becomes unfair. Second, Right Honourable Speaker, we are all aware that it is not only the problem of internet in the rural village, in the rural areas, but also electricity. You find that there are some areas that have no power. People do not have access to not only internet, but also power. So when you say, when the ministry says that the data should be uploaded on the system, on the electronic system, and yet these people lack internet, they lack electricity, it becomes very unfair to them. And going forward, I think my suggestion as a solution is that we resort to the manual way of doing things. The 2 minutes are not over.
What is the manual way you want us to do?
Yes, the manual way is registering these teachers in the registers, in the books, so that at the district level, someone can go there and know that in this district, there is this number of private teachers with all their details, instead of trying to introduce something that is very cumbersome to our teachers. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Veronica.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and Minister, for that statement. But Minister, do we have all the data of the registered teachers per district? I think we can use the DEOs from different districts to help us get that data. And if possible, we can go the way the previous MP has given. We go manual, we get the DEOs. If yes, I think we can use the DEOs to reach the beneficiaries, but with the poor internet and the power shortages in our districts and villages. And the good thing the minister pointed that first come, first serve. When we go with that, Madam Minister, most of the beneficiaries are going to miss out. The money is going to go to those who are able, who have internet, but the most vulnerable are going to miss out because they are those ones who are in the villages, who don't have electricity, who don't have internet, and they can't access computers to register. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Emmanuel, Fortunate. Where is Fortunate?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, in this House, we have an experience of such registration for cash transfer. You know, when there was the registration for people living within municipalities for the COVID relief, we know what happened. So I don't think we should go that way. I want to support my colleague from Rukiga, who said we need to do first a manual registration. The Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development has a network of community development officers and other local government staff spread all through the country. That system should be used to register people in the different areas. And you know for sure that even the registration of the schools themselves have problems. So let us go deep, use our system, go in the manual way, and if eventually there should be a setup within the district to now register on the system, that should be fine. But at the local level, let's do the manual registration. I thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert, Brenda.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the minister talked of giving 100,000 to the teachers. You remember during COVID-19 money transfer, the community were also given 100,000. Right Honourable Speaker, there's a tendency with the community not to respect our teachers. Currently in the villages, every chief things, they associate it to our lovely teachers. I feel, Right Honourable Speaker, let teachers be given slightly higher amount than the community. At least we can go for 200,000 for our teachers. You know, when we keep on comparing our teachers with the local person in the villages, Right Honourable Speaker, it may make people never to continue respecting our teachers. So I pray the minister, let the figure be slightly higher than the one in the community. Second, Right Honourable Speaker, the opening statement of the Honourable Minister, she said, following the successful COVID-19 money transfer to the community. Right Honourable Speaker, the other exercise was not successful at all. Money went to the hands of those ones who are not supposed to receive money. For example, in northern Uganda, many people received the money. The community development officers were among the least. Honorable councillors were among the least of those who received the money. And the poor people, the border, the women who are selling in the markets, they did not receive the money. So let the process be properly and very transparent. Finally, many of our teachers are not registered, Honourable Minister.
Honourable Minister, one thing that you need to appreciate, the previous program was maybe 20% successful. 20%. You're here to get a report. The money that was meant for cities instead went to villages. The rightful people did not get the money. So let's not say that because the other one was successful, the other one was unsuccessful. The rightful people did not get the money. And when you look at the borders, now let's not equate our teachers with the borders. We are what we are because of teachers. You cannot give a teacher 100,000 when you give a border 100. And one thing you need to know in the last program, the people who were registering the beneficiaries would first get 30,000 from that person, and then for you to take the 70. So there was a lot of corruption in that one. So we need to understand, maybe we would borrow some ideas on what members are saying. We may need to go manual. Identify the schools. People should go there and know if there are 10 schools in the Bukedia district, you have technical people. You have members of parliament here. Yes,
Procedure.
Imad.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise on procedural matter. This is a very interesting and very important subject we are discussing. Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament budgeted money to help the rural people who are suffering from COVID. And we were aware when some members of Parliament went back to their respective constituencies, they found that people who were supposed to receive the money did not receive money. And we had all the evidences and facts to prove that there were many people, deserving people, never got money. Right Honourable Speaker, we now have another avenue open. I'm now suspicious. Are there some people in government who just find opportunity of getting free cash? Then they go there and they know how to handle it, or what? Because we should get in this parliament a report of what happened with the first lot of cash distribution. We want to know, and there must be a report where somebody is responsible. How much money was budgeted? Who got the money rightly? Who got it fraudulently? How many people were locked up? How many officials ate? And how much? We want those details. Now again, we have opened another avenue, cash distribution. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to record on this floor that I reject this move. I reject it. Let it be on record of what refuse. Because the teachers, the private school teachers have a private school association. They have their data. So why is it that register, then you have to bring your data to the ministry, this ministry, then it must be assessed, then it must be approved. And really, by the time your name enters the data, you are probably paid a lot, maybe more than you would have got. I know the system, right, Honourable Speaker? I would want the government to come. I appreciate what they are doing. I appreciate their concern for the teachers. But let them come with the right mechanism where we are sure that this money will reach the targeted persons. Please, because we are fed up with this kind of reckless eating. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honorable members, we instituted an audit on the previous process. The audit was done by joint Park local government and Park Central. And the reports are ready. Can we first have those reports presented to this House tomorrow so that we know the direction we are taking? That does not stop us from debating. Let's finish the debate. But before the money is disbursed, let's first see the mistakes that were made so that we are able to correct the mistakes. Shadow?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. First of all, I want to thank the Minister for the statement. I have a few questions. I want to know from the Minister why the pre-primary teachers were left out, because actually it is under private management totally. And also, does this grant has time, like timely? If the donor is saying that the whole process should end by February, and by now you haven't even had many teachers register, what is going to happen? So we need clarification on that. And also, Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister should know that most of private teachers are paid cash. But on the requirements, you find that they need bank statements, payslip, rosters. At the end of the day, that's why you see you only have 7,000 teachers when you need 300 teachers. This is very, very evident because we know what happens in private schools. You will not be able to realize the number if you don't loosen the requirements for this money. And also, you should know that most of the beneficiaries in the last disbursements were not those that were targeted. Right Honourable Speaker, it's very bad that the Minister of Education is not here because we will discuss this in their presence. They are the ones who are supposed to feed the Minister of Gender, but most of the critical issues that must go to them are falling on empty, because there's collapse of the system. Remember in the last year, the ministry was re-registered.
Tinker? But
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the issue that I wanted to raise was concerning a number of teachers who are not captured by the current system. And largely the teachers that are employed in the private sector. Many of them you'll find when they are not registered, but they are doing a very good work. And for the record to confess, I would say the number of teachers who taught me in primary school, I don't remember, except for the headmaster.
I don't remember anyone even being registered. So I would want the Honorable Minister to tell us the strategy she has put in place to make sure that those wonderful teachers who are not registered, they are equally going to be captured. Two, the issue had the amount of money which my colleague has raised, but also the frequency. At least we should say if they missed 2 years and we are proposing 200, they receive it in at least two installments. 200, then another lot, 200. To really show some kind of seriousness. And we will deploy heavily surrounding these reckless eaters, because what Honorable Senior Cecilia said, they are really reckless. I know they are going to jump into this money. At the end of the day, we will see no money. And they will bring accountability to the House. So, honorable members, you have to be very, very vigilant. These are really reckless eaters.
Thank you. Shadow, can you finish? Shadow had something. Just a minute, I want to get one statement from Shadow.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I was raising an issue like in last year, the Minister of Education, the minister in his statement to the Committee of Education, he informed us that they're actually re-registering all schools in Uganda, meaning that they have the details. If you re-register a school, you will get all the details and it will be very easy to access the teachers within that school. I see a struggle here under the Ministry of Gender because they don't have the data. We need, Right Honorable Speaker, to compel the Minister of Education also to make a statement in regards to this, because you see gaps, and at the end of the day, the teachers will not benefit because of those gaps created within the Ministry of Education. So that's one of the prayer. And finally, Madam Speaker, I want to thank Give Directly, because actually this is the organ that is giving this money, the 30 billion. Initially, it was supposed to give 57 billion in the year 2020 to help other sectors or people who are affected by COVID. But due to a recommendation from the Uganda NGO Bureau, they said that they didn't want them to interfere with government projects and policies, and then they had to be suspended. But now that it has been allowed, I want to thank them, because this is not government money, but donor money. We want to thank them for thinking about the teachers, because this government has even failed to realize the 20 billion that it promised.
Even if it is donor money, it is donated to government of Uganda.
Yes, but Madam Speaker, the president pledged 20 billion even to data.
Yes. Can I just get one?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. First of all, I'm happy that you have I've caught your eye even after I have to put others are standing up. I would like to thank the minister for the report. I would like to ask the minister to be considerate. The person who is speaking is here. I'm speaking while I'm seated. To consider special needs teachers and to be deliberate about generating a register for special needs teachers. I agree with the members that 100,000 is very little money, but it is so little for a special needs teacher, because a regular teacher would take about a few hours with a learner, but a special needs teacher who is teaching a blind child, a deaf child, a child with intellectual disabilities spends a lot of time with this learner. So I would like to ask the ministry that there is a more special consideration. So if the regular teacher is going to be paid, for example, 200,000, can we have an addition for the special needs teacher? but can we also be deliberate about generating a register for special needs teachers so that the children, the learners with disabilities are not left out, but also that these special needs teachers are motivated? I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable. Honourable members, I listened to the minister's statement, and I noted so far it is only 2.3% of the teachers that will be eligible to be paid, that will be beneficiaries to this money. And whereas the minister is saying we should do the mobilization on the teachers, the other things that have been mentioned, the matter of electricity, the matter of internet, the issue of, it is an interministerial program where we are saying education should have been together with you for you to get the right data, the right people to benefit out of this. I don't know what direction we are going to take on this matter, if this is what it is. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise in accordance with Rule 59. But before I move the motion, I want to inform the House that we did have a COVID relief fund. And as you rightly said, Right Honourable Speaker, the Committee on the Public Accounts Committee and the Local Government Committee both went out to the field to verify beneficiaries of these COVID funds. Right Honourable Speaker, it was surprising. Our report is ready, but surprising that teachers on the lists in some districts, you would find teachers, people listed as teachers. And when you call, it is an old woman who knows nothing about the school we are actually talking about. That is what was happening in some situations. So people were merely being listed as teachers and to benefit. So likely the same may happen. So Right Honourable Speaker, this particular statement by the Honourable Minister is important. But I want to move, Right Honourable Speaker, in accordance with Rule 59C, D. So, sorry, 59C, that we adjournment of, it's a motion for adjournment of debate, that the report of the Public Accounts Committee, together with the Local Governments Committee, that went out to verify the beneficiaries of the relief fund be presented, discussed, and then thereafter we can conclude debate on this particular statement of the Honourable Minister. The report actually was ready by October last.
Members, we are saying we will continue with the debate. However, we need a report on the cash that went out first for us to know the mistakes that happened. Let's not give out money just like that, and then tomorrow again you come lamenting in this house. You're representatives of the people outside there. Is that motion seconded? Is the motion seconded? Yes, Lillian.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. Right Honourable Speaker, is only prudent that we don't do the same thing and expect different results. I rise up to second the motion that we suspend discussion until we have the report brought in the House.
Yes, Honourable Shadow Attorney General.
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker, I second the motion for two good reasons. One, we are not terminating the debate, but only staying it for a while. Two, it is important that we get a comprehensive report from across the affected ministries, including local government, so that we address the issues that arose in the last cash handout.
Members, this is an interministerial program. It concerns local government, gender, education, many ministries, ICT, all of that. So when you start murmuring, not seconded. You don't know what you're talking about. Huh? It is a very serious matter. We are suspending this motion. We are suspending a debate. Clerk, we need PAC and local government to present their report on Thursday. And then we'll debate the report together with this one. We'll continue with the debate. Thank you. The Minister of Energy called me. Members, honorable members who are here, I see Aisha going. We have appointments committee on Friday at 9, but you can still fast stay. Members, we have, yes.
Madam Speaker, in our rules, the appointment committee is supposed to be briefing Parliament. Sometime back, Mr. Briaba Shaija was reappointed when he was over 68. Clause 21 in the Prisoners Act says when you clock 60, you retire. If you clock at midnight, the following day you hand over office. We did not have an opportunity because that report never came. Now that you have said the appointments committee is meeting, I hope it is not going to approve a person who, in total violation of the Prisoners Act, continues being in office, Madam Speaker.
I am the chair of appointments committee. I'm not sure whether you should discuss what is in our committee in the House for now. Members will do what the Constitution allows us to do without fear or favor. The next item that we have is a statement on fuel. Very, very important statement. However, the minister called me and said they are signing the agreement in Kololo and she would prefer to deliver the statement herself. And that is also an inter-ministerial statement of Minister of Health and Minister of Energy. So I would request we push that item to tomorrow together with our report. Because in the process, when the fuel prices went up and like there was nothing that was happening, we sanctioned the committee of tourism to go to the field. So we'll discuss that item together with the committee report. Tomorrow, can we have the next item?
Item number 5, bill second reading, the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg your indulgence to, before I read this bill, to record my condolences together with those other members of Parliament and others who have recorded theirs on the various losses of our members and other previous members in the recent times. I want to extend my personal condolences to the families and the family of Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that a bill entitled the Landlord and the Tenant Bill 2020 be read for the second time. I beg to move.
Honorable members, the Landlord Tenant Bill 2021 was tabled for the first reading on 29
September 2021, and was referred to the Committee of Physical Infrastructure. The committee considered the bill. The report was uploaded on your laptops, on your iPads, and I hope the members have taken time to internalize the report. And the bill is now ready. Is the motion of the minister seconded? Is it seconded? Seconded by Honourable Musasisi, Honourable Bahati, Honourable Kwalinga, Honourable Betty, Abe, Aza. Obiga, Roland, Moma. Minister, would you like to speak to your motion? That's fine.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to thank members for the almost unanimous support of my motion. I said almost. Right, Honourable Speaker, this bill arose from a bill which was tabled in this House in the 10th Parliament. And by then, there was a bill tabled, the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018. And Parliament passed the bill, sent it over to the President for assent as the Landlord and Tenant Act 2019, because it is spilled over from the year 2018 to 2019. But unfortunately, it was taken over by time. And by the time the President returned it to Parliament, it was the time over for the 10th Parliament, which should have approved it. Now, the President returned it for two reasons. One was his concern over the definition of the premises in that bill. He felt the premises defined then was restrictive because it only talked of business premises. But now, because of the changed situation relating to the growth of e-commerce and e-business and COVID, many people are operating from the homes and from their residences, and they are doing business. Therefore, it means that what used to be referred to as residences are gradually becoming business premises as well. So there's a mixed content in relation to what is now called premises regarding residences and business premises in the traditional way that we know them. So the President wanted us to refine that definition so that we take concern of what is now the use of the premises. Secondly, the President's concern was in Section 13 of the then bill which talked about, as I said, the residential premises that has already been done. The second one is concerned about, just 1 minute.
Honorable Minister, can you summarize? The rest will come on the report.
I wanted to quote the section.
No, the chairperson will bring it on. the
Will bring
report.
out.
Yes.
Now, therefore, the bill was saved by this parliament under their resolution at the beginning of the 11th parliament with other bills. And as the speaker has already said, passed over to the committee. And the committee took advantage to consider other provisions which is allowed within our rules of procedure. Hence, what we are now calling the Landlords and Tenants Bill 2021.
Thank you.
I therefore move
Thank
that
you.
we consider the bill accordingly. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. I now invite the chairperson of Physical Infrastructure to come and present the report. The report was uploaded.
Thank you, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, the honorable members. Allow me to lay on table the report of the Committee on Physical Infrastructure on the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021.
Please
I
go.
beg to lay. Madam Speaker, allow me also lay the minutes of the committee. I beg to lay.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, I beg to present the report on the Committee on Physical Infrastructure on the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021. The content of the table, we will not go there since it's uploaded. Let me go straight to the introduction. The Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 was read for the first time on Wednesday, 29 September 2021, and referred to the Parliamentary Committee on Physical Infrastructure for consideration. In accordance with the Rule 129 and the Rule 189C of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, the committee scrutinized the bill and now presents this report to the House for consideration. Background. The relationship between landlord and tenant is currently governed by the Rent Restriction Act, Cap 231, the Distress for Rent, in bracket, Bailiffs Act Cap 76, which were enacted in 1949 and 1933, respectively, and the principles of contract law These statutes are outdated and are, excuse me, Right Honourable Speaker. These statutes are outdated as new issues that require regulation in the landlord and tenant relations have emerged since their enactment. As a result, there is lack of proper regulation of the relationship and hence disharmony among the key players and disruptions of the industry. It is against this background that the government introduced the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 with the following objectives. A, to regulate the relationship between the landlord and the tenants. B, to reform and consolidate the law relating to the renting of premises. C, to provide for responsibilities of landlords and tenants in relation to the renting of premises. And finally, to provide the rented, and to provide for related matters. A similar bill entitled the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018 had been presented to the Tennis Parliament. It was considered and passed by the Parliament with some amendments and with confirmation that it complied with human rights, the Sustainable Development Goals, and it addressed the gaps in the existing law. In accordance with Article 91 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018, as passed by Parliament, was sent to President for assent on 5th May 2019. However, His Excellency the President, in his letter dated 27th October 2020, the Right Honourable Speaker returned the bill to Parliament requesting for consideration in the following areas. 1. Clause 2 of the bill provides for the interpretation of the meaning of business premise and residential premises. In view of the changes in the working environment as a result of COVID-19, the President proposed that the interruptions therein should factor in an emerging trend of home office and homestay tourism. As more business professionals and e-commerce enterprises switch to home working on account of COVID-19, the definition of residential premises should be expanded to accommodate a mixed use of houses for residential and office businesses that do not require physical interface with customers. 2, Clause 15.1 provides that tenants should not use rented premises or permit their use in a manner that causes a nuisance to any occupier of the neighboring premises. This clause presumes that physical planning by local government will adhere to separation of residential and commercial areas and will do the same in their issuance of trading license to avoid situations whereby one licensed commercial activity ends up becoming a nuisance to another activity that is equally licensed by the same local government, in addition not enforcing noise pollution. Bylaws and standards is currently a major nuisance and public health concern for the majority of urban dwellers. Attached here with Annex 1, and Roman 1, Annex 1, is His Excellency the President's letter dated the 27th October 2020, addressed to the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament. Roman 2, Annex 2, is the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018, as passed by Parliament and sent to His Excellency the President for assent. The Tenancy Parliament elapsed before considering the bill. In accordance with Rule 235 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, the Right Honourable Speaker directed all bills that elapsed with the 10th Parliament but are still relevant should be reintroduced to the House. The Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 was thus read for the first time on 29 September 2021 and referred to the Committee of Physical Infrastructure for consideration. The initial instruction was that the committee should limit itself to His Excellency the President's concerns. In the course of its deliberation, however, the committee noted that there were some changes to the bill that made it difficult from the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018 as passed by Parliament and sent to His Excellency the President for assent. The basis on which he raised the concern and returned the bill to Parliament for consideration of particular clauses. It was against this background that the committee sought permission from Parliament on 22nd November 2021 to consider the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 in its totality and for more time to consider the bill. The request was granted. The committee thus considered the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 and hereby presents its report to the House for consideration. The methodology, the committee perused the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 to consider His Excellency the President's concern as contained in his letter to the Right Honourable Speaker dated 27th October 2020 on the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018 as passed by Parliament. The committee also held a consultative meeting with key stakeholders, namely Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, the sponsor of the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021, Uganda Electricity Regulation Authority, the regulator of electricity sector in Uganda, Umeme Limited, the largest distributor of electricity to Ugandans, Kampala Cadres Advocate Forum, CAFO, a registered non-profitable forum that was formed by Uganda traders operating in the arcades of Kampala to organize themselves and promote conducive trade environment, increase business opportunities, have good trade order in the city, and create good working relationship with the government, KCCA, and landlords. The committee also interacted with the landlords and the Developers Association, an association of landlords and real estate developers predominantly around Kampala. Kampala State Traders Association, Kasita, a business associate in Uganda aimed at facilitating trade, bringing together the business community and mobilizing them into a viable, organized, and social sustainable marketplace. Received the considerable written submission from Karungi Estate Limited. Committee observations and recommendations. 1. Issues that emerged from engagement with the Ministry of Lands and Housing. The committee found that there were differences between the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 and the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018 as passed by Parliament and sent to the President for assent. The affected clauses were as follows: 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, clause 9, 2, clause 13, clause 16, 2, clause 26, 2, clause 27, 1, clause 31, 1, clause 31, 6, clause 46, 2, and clause 53D. The committee, however, noted that 1, whereas the differences in clause 1, 2, 2 on the definition of business and residential premises, 3, 2, 6, clause 16, 2, clause 27, 1, clause 31, 1, clause 46, 2, and clause 53D were substantive. These identified in clause 2 on definition of currency points. These identified in clause 2 on definition of currency points, 9, 2, 13, 26.2 and 31.6 were alterations arising from legislative drafting. Roman 2. The differences in clause 2 on the definition of residential premises, clause 16.2 and clause 53D were to accommodate the concerns of His Excellency the President. Roman 3, the substantive differences were as follows. The Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 excludes the word "a person" in the definition of the word business, thereby excluding activities that are carried on by one person. The Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018, as sent to the President for assent, had defined the business to inter alia, including business carried out by a person.
There's a procedural matter.
Right Honourable, since the report was uploaded, wouldn't be procedurally right for the chairperson to summarize?
Chair, can we look at your recommendations? Summarize it.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. That's going to make my work easy. If now that you don't need the observations, I'll go straight to the recommendations.
Right.
Hmm?
Yes, procedure.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. As you allowed an IT expert in Parliament, you will realize that many of our gadgets go to the IT expert for correction. And in that case, it is wrong to presume that
So
every
you mean you
gadget
can't see
has
your work? I mean the document? You have the work. You see, for you, you're a doctor.
I beg your pardon.
You're a doctor, you don't know the IT things. If the rest are seeing, then for you, you're used to seeing patients. Honourable Member, can you go ahead?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Now that we are going to recommendations, the committee recommends that clause Roman 1, clause 2, specifically on the definition of currency point, clause 9.2, 13, and clause 26.2 of the Landlord and Tenant Bill, Bill 2021, be adopted. Roman 2, the content of clause 2, specifically definition of business, clause 1.2, clause 3.2, clause 7.1, and clause 31.1 of the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 revert to what is contained in the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2018 as passed by Parliament, sent to the President for assent and returned to Parliament by President for consideration. 2, say I go to recommendations. Recommendation on the President's letter, the committee recommends that the subclause 16.2 be deleted. It be deleted. On the issue that emerged from interaction with other stakeholders, the committee recommends that included electricity and so on. The committee recommends that clause 12 should be deleted. On parking space, I mean on other extra expenses, parking space, the committee recommends that the aspect of parking space should be agreed upon by the landlord and the tenant and clearly stated in the tenancy agreement. On issues of toilet facility, the committee recommends that the committee recommends that the clause 12 be deleted. On payment of goodwill by tenants, the landlords, the committee recommends that the payment of goodwill be by tenants, the landlords, be outlawed. On receiving of rent payments, the committee recommends that the bill be amended to provide for amount paid and the duration covered by the said amount. Honourable members, on this one, we realized when we interacted with the stakeholders that downtown, most of the tenants, they pay. But when they pay, they get somebody just writes that you have cleared. He gets him a receipt saying cleared, no amount, no what and what have you. So we are saying that no, the issue must be completely handled with money stipulated. On the tenants agreement, the committee proposes that the bill should allow the freedom of contract and uphold the right of parties to determine the terms of their tenancy. Circumstances under which the tenant may repay the promise, the committee proposes that the bill should be amended to 1, provide for a fair time frame between a notice to the landlord alerting him of the need for a given repair and the commencement of repair works by the tenant. Roman 2, the cost of the repair must be based on the ongoing marketing rates. Increase of rent. The committee proposes that the minimum period of notice for increase in rent should be amended to provide for a shorter period of 60 days. That's not of increase of rent. Failure to pay rent by tenant and claims by rent areas. The committee proposes that in order to save the landlord from further financial losses, the bill should allow the landlord to re-enter the promise and take possession thereafter in the presence of the local authorities without prejudice to the right to recover the rent areas. Termination after notice. The committee proposes that a new subclause be provided to cover this scenario. The committee proposes pertaining the termination of tenancy in a business premise should be left to the tenancy agreement. Termination by abandonment. The committee proposes that the bill should empower the landlord to recover any accrued rent and charges in such circumstances. Challenging of termination of a tenancy agreement in court. The committee proposes that the bill be amended to provide equal protection to both the landlord and the tenant. Unlawful eviction of tenant. The committee proposes that the bill should be amended to restrict sanctions to compensatory damages, subjecting tenants to annoyance. The committee proposes that the clause be deleted. We looked at it and they said both can, the landlord and tenant, both of them can equally be annoyed. Entry of rent promised by landlord. The committee proposes that the bill should be amended to permit entry into the rented premise by the landlord in emergency situations. Right, Honourable Speaker, the committee recommends that the bill be passed subject to the proposed amendments. I beg to move. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson of the committee. And as you hear, we've been having a landlord tenancy bill. What we are doing now is just to make some slight amendments. And that's what the chair is presenting. This bill came and was passed in the last parliament, but it was caught up by time under Rule 235, and that's how it was recommitted back to the committee. Yeah, on Thursday, when the document was laid on table, I asked members to go and read it. Any amendment that you feel you think should be put and is substantial, to pass it on in writing and do amendments. We wouldn't do amendments on of the clauses in the House because we constituted a team of shadow Attorney General and this side to look at the amendments, including the minister. And we would maybe want to hear from them. Minister?
Right, Honourable Speaker, we had consultations, and out of those consultations, we agreed on quite a lot of provisions, and we're subject to your direction. We're ready to move to the committee stage if you so direct. Thank you.
A leader of opposition and any other member?
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the report, but to guard against exploitation of tenants, Madam Speaker, I hold a view that this recommendation, especially to delete clause 12, would be stayed because it is a bone of serious contention, Madam Speaker. You know very well that the old law of 1999, electricity.
Honorable Law, that will be in not law, yes, law. That will be at committee stage when we reach clause 12. Now you've taken us to committee stage. You'll bring your amendment when we are at committee stage on clause 12.
Much obliged.
Thank you. Yes, Attorney General.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, as you had directed, no amendment was brought to our attention by any member, especially those who are not members of the committee. We did consider the government concerns in respect of the report by the committee, and the committee did analyze the government concerns, and we had a win-win, and we should be able to pass this bill when we go to committee stage without much acrimony.
Honorable members. It's a very beautiful, especially new honorable members of parliament. It's a very beautiful thing for a bill to be passed when you're part of that bill. Part of the house, when the bill is passed, you'll say, I was part of that process. I just want to thank the people who are still here. That's what I want to say. I'm thanking you people. This is a very, very important bill. That for you to endeavor and stay and say, let's see the whole process. Those people outside there, the voters that we have, the landlords there, can make you not to come back or what. Some of us are still tenants. So I am very grateful you're here. I want to thank you so much. Honorable members, I put a question that the bill entitled Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 be read a second time. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
The landlord.
The ayes have it.
The Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021. Bills Committee stage.
The Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021, Clause 1.
Clause 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Clause 1, 2. Insert the phrase.
Clause 1, subclause 2.
Subclause 2. Insert the phrase with approval of Parliament between May and by in the first line. Justification. The Parliament must be involved in applying the provisions of the Act from any particular premises. That's the justification, Madam Chair.
Minister.
Right, Honourable Chair, we have no objection.
I put a question that clause 1 be amended as proposed. Clause 1 subclause 2 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 1 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 1 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2, interpretation still. Definition.
Can we first move to other clause, leave clause 2, because it is an interpretation. Go to clause 3.
Clause 3.
Clause 3, Chair.
Interpretation, clause 2.
Clause
No, that's
3,
interpretation.
clause 3.
Clause 3. Clause 3, making of a tenancy agreement. One subclause 1 insert the following phrase at the end of the provision, provided that where the parties shall have executed a tenancy agreement, the landlord tenancy relationship between the parties shall be governed by the terms of the tenancy. Terms of the tenancy. It is 2, subclause 2. Insert the following phrase at the end of the provision, save that the parties may make some modifications accordingly. Justification: to allow the freedom of contract and they uphold the right of the parties to determine the terms of their tenancy, given the fact that terms may differ depending on the nature of the demised premises. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Minister.
Right Honorable Chair, both of those insertions are asserting to the freedom to contract, and we have no objection.
Thank you. I now put a question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 3 as
Ayes have
amended.
it. I now put a question that clause 3 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Clause 4, Chair. Clause 4 has no amendment. I put a question that clause 4 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 5.
I put a question that clause 5 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
Clause 6, Chair.
Subclause 6. The tenancy shall reimburse the landlord within a period of 14 days after the notification to the landlord or to the same may be deducted from any rent advance already received by the landlord. Justification: some members of
Can you read your clause well? Clause 6 says the implied terms of the fitness for human habitation. Subclause 1B.
Yeah, there was some confusion. Clause 6, implied terms as to fitness for human habitation. 1, subclause 1B. At the end of the provision, add the following phrase: save that the obligation shall be restricted the exterior of the premises and the common areas. Justification: during the term of the tenancy, the tenant is in the occupation of the premise and has a duty to maintain the inside of the premise in good and attainable repair.
Subclause 4.
Subclause 4, the following should be included at the beginning of the clause, except in case of any emergency. A landlord may. Justification: there may be a situation where a remedial action is so urgent that it cannot wait for 24 hours, not like a flooding or sewage breakdown.
Minister.
Right Honorable Chair, we agree.
I put a question that clause 6 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 6
Ayes have
as
it.
amended.
I now put a question that clause 6 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The
Clause
ayes have
7.
it.
Clause
Clause 7, Chair.
Clause 7, duty to keep promise in repair, subclause 1. At the end of the clause, add the following, save that the obligation shall extend to the exterior parts of the premise and the common areas. Justification, during the term of tenancy, the tenant is in occupation of the premise and has a duty to maintain the inside of the premise in good and attainable repair.
I put a question that clause 7 be amended as proposed. Minister,
I have no objection, Chair.
I put a question that clause 7 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. I now put a question that clause 7 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 8.
Clause 8, Madam Chair, exemption to duty of landlord to repair premises. 1, subclause 4, insert the following at the beginning of the clause, except in case of any emergency. 2, subclause 6, the tenant shall reimburse the landlord within a period of 14 days after the notification to the landlord, or the same may be deducted from any rent advance already received by the landlord. Justification, some numbers of days should be provided for landlord and tenant so that the law affords equal protection to both parties as enshrined in the Constitution.
Minister,
Chair, I agree with that amendment.
I put a question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 8 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 8 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 9.
The ayes have it. Clause 9, Chair.
Clause 9, circumstances where a tenant may repair premises. 1, subclause 1B. At the end of the provision, insert the following. After serving the landlord with 14 days prior notice of need for repairs and the cost thereof. Justification, same number of days should be provided for landlord and tenant so that the law affords equal protection to both parties.
Subclause 3. Subclause 3.
2, subclause 3. Insert the following at the end of the provision. Provided that the tenant shall submit to the landlord supporting documentary proof as evidence of the cost of repair and the cost thereof shall be required to be reasonable at the prevailing market rates. Justification, to avoid the exaggeration of claims being preferred against landlords by tenants in the same way clause 8.5 is worded.
Minister,
Chair, I agree.
I put a question that clause 9 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 9 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 9 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 10.
I put a question that clause 10 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 11.
The Chair.
Madam Chair, clause 11, void the terms and conditions in tenancy. The clause should start with the phrase subject to clause 3.1. Justification, to avoid a contradiction in the law with one clause upholding the right of the parties to contract and another taking away the right. Some tenancies may require technical advice which comes at a cost. The parties should retain the right to agree on how the cost should be apportioned.
Minister.
I agree.
I put a question that clause 11 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay.
Clause 11 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 11 as amended be stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 12.
Leader of opposition, some order in the house. Respect yourselves.
Madam Chair, clause 12, provision of separate prepaid electricity meters. Delete clause 12. Justification. According to service providers, it is not practicable, and poses a technical difficulties given the building requirements in terms of wiring the unit of business premises.
I put a question that clause 9 be deleted as proposed. Minister, first Minister. Clause 12, provision for separate prepaid electricity meters.
Yes, Chair would propose these separate meters, but on a second thought, we realize that this provision will be best provided in the Buildings Acts and Regulations and not in this law. Therefore, we concede to agree.
Thank you.
Clause 13.
I put the question that the clause 9 be deleted. I mean, clause 12 be deleted as proposed. Those in favor say aye, to the aye, to the contrary aye. The ayes have it. Clause 13. Look at the Electricity Act before you start talking. Clause 13. Clause 13, I put a question that clause 13 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Clause 14. Chair.
Clause 14, utility charges for which landlord is reliable. Paragraph E. Delete and substitute with the following. In the case of sewerage disposal charges, the landlord and tenant may agree on the contribution to be made by the tenant. Justification. Sewerage disposal charges cannot practically be metered separately. It is only fair that the landlord and tenant be allowed to agree on a reasonable sum to be contributed by the tenant.
Minister.
We agree with that proposal.
I put a question that.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have concern on clause 14, paragraph E. In that case where the sewage disposal charges are to be met by both the tenant and the landlord, I think it would be fair if that petty cost is met by the landlord as part of the rent. Thank you.
Is that what you do in actual fact as of today? How does the landlord come and pay for the sewage empty for yourself? We are making a law. We are not just doing something that what we think should be done. It is about the law. What does the law say about it? Who is responsible for what? Honorable members, we are maintaining clause 14 as it is. I put a question that clause 14 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. I now put a question that clause 14 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 15.
I put a question that clause 15 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 16.
Chair.
Clause 16, tenant not to cause a nuisance or interference. 1, clause 16.1, delete the phrase subject to subsection 2. Justification, it is not necessary to subject the clause to subjection 2 since the committee proposes to move an amendment to delete subsection 2. 2. Clause 16.2, delete the subclause 2. Justification. According to section 3 of the Physical Planning Act 2010, the whole of Uganda was declared a planning area. Thus, the requirement not to cause a nuisance covers the whole country, and as such, there is no area in Uganda where a nuisance may be allowed as purported in subclause 2.
Minister,
We agree with the committee.
I put a question at clause 16 as amended as proposed.
Chair, I don't know how this clause is going to be enforced because we have some premises which house hotels or entertainment enterprises. Now, this discourse that are played up to midnight or the whole night, how do you handle? Because they are all over the place in urban centers. So I would want clarification from the minister how this clause is going to be enforced. Because now the burden is on the tenant to ensure that that nuisance not caused. But if your premises is for entertainment and you are supposed to allow disco, dancing, and so on, how do you enforce? So I think let's not just make the law. Let's also care about how practical it will be in terms of implementation.
Honourable Minister.
Yeah, the honourable member is right. It's a question of enforcement. First of all, we are legislating that whatever premises you have should not be a nuisance to anybody. That's the principle. It's not allowed. Why? Because we have now the National Physical Planning Act 2010, as you amended in 2020. And it provides that every area will be planned for a specific purpose. Now, if you plan a given area for residential areas, then there are standards which are expected under that regulations which will be made in the Physical Planning Act. And those must be followed both by the community and the local authorities. Now, our failure to implement does not absolve us of the responsibility of legislating to make sure that people are not inconvenienced. And indeed, this is happening, honorable members, in Uganda. I'm sorry to say, there are certain places which have been turned into places of worship, which is good, but worship overnight, a lot of noise. Some are even in bars. And yes, these are not soundproofed. Not only soundproof, but they bring everybody. Thugs. That's a nuisance itself. So it scares people. Therefore, we have to look at first the regulations which will be made under this to make sure that local authorities enforce them and we all become part of the enforcement. So I believe it is possible.
Another information, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Honourable Baba.
What the Honourable Minister said, there is also a law against noise in our legal system. I remember there was a High Court judge.
There is an environmental law. That is Kembabazi.
Yes, near Kembabazi.
Justice Katus versus Kembabazi.
Yeah, he took
Amos,
that.
Amos.
He took
You know
that
me.
restaurant to court and he won the case
Yes.
against noise. Former leader, president of Democratic Party, Mzee Paul Semogerere, also complained, and the law was also applied somewhere in Kabusu. So there's this law to take care of nuisance people, only that it should be rigorously applied, because the level of noise in this country now, with the churches, with the balokoles, with the dancers, is terrible. Some of us can't sleep. Those
Thank
should be
you.
applied rigorously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clarification. Right, Honourable Speaker, if I got the question from the Honourable Cecilia Ogwal well, she was seeking clarification on implementation. Right, Honourable Speaker?
Enforceability.
Yeah, and how will it be implemented? How is it feasible? Right, Honourable Speaker, when you look at our communities where we live, what is going to happen after we have passed this law? Most of the places, the urban authorities planned poorly. And you find that the communities are living in these places. They gave licenses.
Honorable Commissioner, we passed a stage of debate when you're outside there admiring some people. We are now at committee level. I now put a question that clause 16 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say, and to the contrary, nay.
Clause 16 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 16 as amended stands part of the bill, and those in favor say, and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 17.
I put a question that clause 17 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say, and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 19.
The ones I'm just reading do not have amendments, but they have to appear in the bill. So you just don't keep quiet there. Clause 18, I put a question that clause 18 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say, and to the contrary, nay. Very
Clause
good.
19.
The ayes have it.
Clause 19.
Clause 19, I put a question that clause 19 stands part of the bill, and those in favor say, and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 20.
I put a question that clause 20 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 21.
I put a question that clause 21 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 22.
Clause 22 has an amendment. Thank you for waking up.
Clause 22, tenant to pay rent. Redraft clause 22 as follows. 22, tenant to pay rent. 1, a tenant shall pay rent on a date and in the manner agreed upon by the landlord and the tenant. 2, the landlord shall ensure a receipt upon payment of rent. Okay. The landlord shall issue a receipt upon payment of rent by the tenant. 3, the receipt issued in subsection 2 shall be in a form prescribed in a regulation issued by the minister. 4, a landlord renting out a business premise. Renting out a business premise in a city or a municipality shall provide a tenant with his or her bank account number into which all the rent payments may be deposited. Deposited. Justification. To ensure that landlords present an accurate representation of what is paid in rent in a receipt. Two, to curb landlords renting out business premises in a city or a municipality shall provide a tenant with his or her bank account into which rent. This is repetition. That's the justification, Madam Chair.
Honourable Minister.
We agree with that proposal.
I put a question that clause 22 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay.
Clause 22 as amended.
I now put a question that the clause 22 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 23.
Chair.
Clause 23, determination of rent under a tenancy. Clause 23(2). The provision shall start with the words, save as may otherwise be agreed between the parties in their tenancy agreement. Justification. The law should uphold the freedom of parties to contract. It should be permissible for parties to mutually agree on the possibility of payment in Ugandan shilling equivalent to the dollars, USDs.
Honourable Minister.
I agree.
I put a question that clause 23 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay.
Clause 23 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 23 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay.
Clause 24.
I put a question that clause 24 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 25.
I put a question that clause 25 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 26.
26, Chair.
Clause 26, this receipt for rent. Clause 26(2). Insert after the phrase prescribed form the words and shall include among others the amount and the period for which rent is paid. Justification. To emphasize the need to have the amount of rent and the period stated in the receipt to minimize conflicts. Beg to submit.
Minister.
I agree.
I put a question that clause 26 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay.
Clause 26 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 26 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The
Clause
ayes have
20
it.
Clause 27.
Chair.
Clause 27, increase of rent. 1 subclause 1. The provision should start as follows. Save as may otherwise be agreed between the parties in their tenancy agreement. Insert the phrase with approval of Parliament after the word minister. Justification. Justification. The Parliament should be involved.
Repeat, Honourable wants to hear what you're saying.
The whole clause. Clause 27, increase of rent. 1 subclause 1. The provision should start as follows. Save as may otherwise be agreed between the parties in their tenancy agreement. Insert the phrase with approval of Parliament after the word minister. Justification. The Parliament should be involved in such critical changes in the principal legislation as a check on the utilization of powers of the ministers.
Subclause 2. Subclause 2.
2. Subclause 2. Insert 6.
Let him finish
Let me finish
reading.
this.
And that's why I say whoever had an amendment should bring it up.
2, subclause 2, insert 60 in the place of 90. 60 in the place of 90. Justification. Parties may mutually agree on how rent should be increased, especially with long-term tenants, a 60 days notice is also reasonable in the circumstances.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chair, I agree on subclause 2, but on clause 1, when we had further consultations with the committee chair, we had reservations because we think, yes, there may be a good reason to that provision essentially is trying to protect the tenant from arbitrary increases at the will of the landlord. But we think bringing every change of that nature to Parliament all the time it happens would clog down the work of Parliament. And the best the minister could do is cover that under the regulations which the minister will issue. And these regulations, we think, from time to time when they are tabled in Parliament, will then cover the general principles and the latitude within which landlords in general can increase the rent, instead of every time coming to Parliament for a matter which we think you should be able to entrust your ministers with. So I think they agreed. I don't know what the position of the minister
So how
is.
should the amendment read like?
Well, we would want to retain the position as it was in 27 in the bill, where we're saying a landlord shall not increase rent at a rate of more than 10% annually, or such other percentage as may be prescribed by the minister by statutory instruments. And that's what we thought should remain. The contention here is that this should always be done with the approval of Parliament.
Honorable Nwagaba, can you make the proposal?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. That's what we agreed, except that the phrase "save as may otherwise be agreed between the parties in the tenants agreement" is to be maintained. We are only agreeing to deletion of the words "with approval of Parliament."
Okay.
I agree to the proposal by the Shadow Attorney General.
Okay. So I put a question that clause 27, subclause 1, as amended by Honorable Nwagaba on a deletion of Parliament.
Chair, I don't see how the minister comes in. Because this is a tenancy between the landlord and the tenant. Why should the minister come in? So I think we should delete minister and Parliament as well.
Purposes of the Hansard, the amendment will read thus, and before I read it, I want to help Honorable Atim Ogwar that this particular provision is meant to curb unrestricted rent increment by landlords that would disfavor tenants. So there is some sort of rent restriction, and that's why we are leaving powers to the minister to prescribe the percentage that may not be gone beyond in increasing rent. But for purposes of the amendment, which is the subclause 27, subclause 1 will read thus: save as may otherwise be agreed between the parties in their tenants agreement, a landlord shall not increase rent at a rate of more than 10% annually, or such other percentage as may be prescribed by the minister by statutory instrument.
Chair, I would rather that the minister prescribes through the regulation. I would not want the minister to be involved in this piecemeal kind of, tenant landlord agreements. I would rather that the minister will come in through regulations, but not as it is put in here. Chair.
By the way, Honorable Cecilia, this is what has been in the bill. That is how the act has been. No, we are not amending.
For your information, Honorable Timogwar, a statutory instrument is a regulation. The regulation is actually the common legal jargon is statutory instruments, but those are the regulations.
Thank you for for helping Imat Cecilia for going to the law class. I put a question that the amendment in clause 27 as proposed by Honorable Nwagaga. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. That is for clause 1. I put a question that subclause clause 27 subclause 2 as proposed be amended. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay.
Clause 27 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 27 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary, nay.
Clause 28.
I put a question that clause 28 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 29.
I put a question that clause 29 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 30.
Clause 30, failure to pay rent by the tenant.
Clause 30, failure to pay rent by tenant and claims for rent arrears. Subclause 31. The provision should end with a proviso as follows. Provided that where the difficulty shall continue. The default shall continue for a period of more than 30 days, the landlord shall be entitled to re-enter the premise and take possession thereof in the presence of the area local council officials and the police without prejudice to the right to recover the rent arrears. Justification. A tenancy is primarily based on two things: occupation of the premises by the tenant against payment of rent the landlord. If the tenant cannot pay rent, then he or she cannot continue occupying the premise indefinitely until an order of eviction is obtained. This will defeat the whole purpose of renting out premises.
Honorable Minister.
I agree.
Thank you. I put a question that clause 30 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 30 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 30 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 31.
31.
Clause 31, security deposit. Clause 31.6. Insert the phrase of the change at the end of the sub-clause. Justification for clarity at what the notice relates.
Honorable Minister.
I agree.
I put a question that clause 31 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 31 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 31 as amended stands part of the bills. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 32.
I put a question that clause 32 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 33.
I put a question that clause 33 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 34.
Clause 34, Chair, is a new clause.
New clause after clause 34. Insert a new clause after clause 34(2) as follows. Prohibition of goodwill. Unless otherwise agreed between the parties, an assignment of a tenancy or subrenting or execution of a new tenancy shall not be subject to requirement for payment of any sum of money constituting good to the landlord. Justification: to abolish goodwill payments since it is unpopular among tenants and treated as unfair.
Chair, during our discussions, the first discussions and subsequent discussions with the committee, we're of the view that goodwill, while it is a good business practice and it exists, it's not a fixed asset which you can easily put a value on. It is kind of flexible. And it's a good business practice between agreeing parties. And therefore, we don't think it should really be legislated per se in the main act. But since we're provided a freedom in the tenancy agreement, if they want to include an element of goodwill, that will be their freedom to contract. So we thought any references in this law about goodwill should have been deleted. And our proposal was that section 34 remains as it is without reference to goodwill.
So you're saying we don't introduce subclause 2?
Subclause 2. It will read as it is now: invalid assignment and subletting of premises, an assignment of a tenancy or subletting of the whole or any part of the premises to a tenant without the consent of the landlord is invalid and immediately terminates the tenancy. Of course, it was trying to introduce a second provision, which we think is something which is fluid, and we should leave it out of the main act. It can be provided for in the tenancy by the individual people as they contract. So I don't know.
Section 34, I mean clause 34.
Yes.
As it was.
We assert
without
that
amendment.
should remain as it is.
Without amendment.
Without amendment, yes.
I put a question that clause 34 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 35.
Clause 35, termination of tenancy to be in accordance with the act. Insert at the end of the clause the following: or in according with tenancy agreement. Justification: the parties should reserve the right to make provision for termination in their tenancy, and the right should be respected. I beg to.
Minister.
We agree.
I put a question that clause 35 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay.
Clause 35 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 35 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 36.
I put a question that clause 36 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 37.
I put a question that clause 37 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 38.
I put a question that clause 38 stands part of the bill, and those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 39.
The chair.
Clause 39, termination after notice. 1, subclause 39, 1. Insert the following phrase at the end of the provision, or with terms of the tenancy agreement. Justification. The parties should reserve the right to make provision for termination in their tenancy, and the right should be respected.
Subclause 5.
2, subclause 5, delete the subclause 5. Justification. Termination should be catered for in the tenancy agreement. 3, subclause 39(7), a new subclause, insert a new subclause 7 to read as follows. The issuance of notice of termination under subsection 1 shall not operate as an extinction of a landlord or a tenant's duty and the rights under the tenancy agreement in respect of which notice has been issued. Justification. This will ensure that the terms and conditions of tenancy agreement remain effective even during the notified period. I beg to move.
Chair. Minister.
Thank you, Chair. We agree.
I put a question that clause 39 as amended, be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause 39 as
The ayes have
amended.
it.
Clause 39 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 39 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 40.
40, Chair.
Clause 40, termination by abandonment. Subclause 1. Insert at the end of the provision the following. Save that such termination may be abandonment shall be without prejudice to the rights of the landlord to recover any accrued rent and charges. Justification. The landlord should be enabled to recover any accrued rent and charges from any abandoned tenancy.
Minister.
I agree.
I put a question that clause 40 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay.
Clause
Ayes
40
have
as
it.
amended.
I now put a question that clause 40 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 41.
I put a question that clause 41 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 42.
Chair.
Clause 42. Tenant or landlord may challenge termination in court. Clause 42(4). Insert the phrase or landlord in quotation after tenant at the beginning of the subclause 4. Justification. The landlord should also enjoy the same right of appeal as the tenant. The right to appeal should be available for both parties and not only the tenant.
Minister.
It's a legal right to both parties. I agree.
I put a question that clause 42 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 42 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 42 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 43.
I put a question that clause 43 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. 44.
Clause 44.
Chair.
Clause 44. Refusal by tenant to vacate premise after receipt of notice of termination, subclause 1, redraft the provision to read as follows. Where a tenant does not vacate the premises on the date specified in the notice of termination or upon breach, the landlord may thereafter re-enter the premises, provided that re-entry shall be effected in the presence of local council officials and the police. Justification: to avoid the scenarios where tenants will wait for notice to expire and refuse to vacate.
The Minister.
I agree.
I put a question that clause 44 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 44 is amended.
Now put a question that clause 44 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 45.
I put a question that clause 45 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. 46.
Clause 46.
Chair.
Clause 46, unlawful eviction of tenant. 1, subclause 1, insert the words or the terms of the tenancy agreement following immediately after the words in accordance with this act. 2, subclause 2, insert the words or in terms of the tenancy agreement immediately after the words in contravention of this act. Delete criminal liability penalties and add that the tenant shall be entitled to pursue appropriate relief from court of law. Substitute the phrase not exceeding 250 currency points with the phrase equivalent 3-month rent payable. 3, subclause 3, restrict it to only compensatory damages and remove criminal sanctions. Justification: penalties proposed should allow for compensatory option to cater for damages of breach, since this is a civil matter.
Chair, I agree on subsection 1 and 2, except that in 2, the relevant words amending are in quotes, the tenant shall be entitled to pursue appropriate relief from a court of law. Those are the relevant amendment words. And in subclause 3, the relevant words are to remove, there are no words which were proposed by the committee, and it should remain where it says the compensatory damages. Because he has put the chair has put it in general words, but we're really talking about compensatory damages. So the amendment would read, if you allow me.
And remove criminal sanctions. And remove criminal sanctions.
No, we are removing criminal sanctions. They're not part of our. A court convicting a landlord under subsection 2 shall, in addition to any penalty imposed by the court under the landlord, order the landlord to compensate the tenant for any damages arising from the unlawful eviction. And I think it should remain as it is. I think the committee was just making comments.
Yes.
They are not necessarily making a law. So I propose that it remains as it is. 46, subsection 3 remains as it is. Thank you.
So you want, Minister, you want to say there is no amendment in clause 46?
Clause 46, subsection
One,
One, there is an amendment.
yes. Two,
I agree with that.
yes, two,
In two, there is an amendment, but the phrasing is terms of the tenancy agreement in contravention of this act. And then you delete the rest. So it will read, subsection 2 will read, a landlord who evicts a tenant from the premises or requires, compels or attempts to require or compel the tenant to vacate the premises in contravention of this act commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 250 currency points or to imprisonment not exceeding 1 year or both. And I don't know where the words in contravention of this act, the committee was trying to establish, set the word or the terms. That is in contravention of the act or the terms of the tenancy agreement. Okay? That's where it will be inserted, those phrases in subsection 2. Yes, is an insertion. It's okay with me, subject to what the Attorney General, the Shadow Attorney General said.
Thank you. If you've now considered, because we never addressed that, you had not raised an issue, because the principle is this should not be a penal law. So if you consider to the committee's proposals on sub-clause 1 and 2, then that's okay. But I would also invite you, Honourable Minister, to consider on sub-clause 3 by adding the words compensatory immediately before damages and after the word for any, so that it is not left to the discretion of court to be too wide. But if it is compensatory, then the court will look at the actual loss being suffered, maybe in terms of rent paid and the like, so that we capture the spirit.
Honorable Nwagaba, first read section 3. The court convicting
Saying a landlord under subsection 2 shall, in addition to any penalty imposed by the court, order the landlord to compensate the tenant, or it's already there anyway.
Yes.
The compensation. It's okay, we could maintain it.
Yeah, let's reconcile this first, then you come. Is that okay?
That's okay with me, it's okay.
So
3 remains as it is.
3 remains, 1, 2, 3 remain.
Yeah.
With
The insertions are in 2.
on 2.
Yeah. 1 and
Yes.
2. 1 and 2.
Yes. Okay. I put a question that clause 46 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 46 as amended.
Now put a question that clause 46 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Jacob, sorry. Gilbert.
Gilbert, yeah. Thank you. Madam Chair, my concern was on clause 2, whereby the committee proposed that instead of a fine not exceeding 250 be replaced by the equivalent rent of 3 months. Madam Chair, this is very risky.
It has passed.
That's why I wanted to raise earlier, Madam Chair.
You can bring it later.
Pardon?
You can bring it later. You know, members, I asked you people to bring amendments. The amendments have not been brought. I gave the legal brains to look at this. The way Brenda is looking at me. I gave the legal brains to look at this. and it has been approved. And kindly, can we move on? Next.
Clause
Next,
47.
clause 47.
Madam Chair, clause 47 is about goodwill, which we have agreed with the minister. We delete it. So this one is deleted. We go to clause 48.
Clause 47.
I put a question that clause 47 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 48.
48.
Madam Chair, clause 48, subjecting a tenant to annoyance. Delete the entire clause 48, 1 and 2, justification. The clause is so ambiguous that presupposes that it is only the tenant who cannot, who can be annoyed by the landlord.
I put a clause. I put a question that clause 48 be deleted. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 49.
It's redundant, actually. Clause 49. I put a question that clause 49 stands part of the bill, and those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause
50.
Clause 50.
Chair.
Clause 50, entry of a rented premise by the landlord. Subclause 3, replace subclause 3 with the following. Notwithstanding subsection 1, in the case of an emergency occurrence, a landlord may enter the premise without notice. Justification. To provide for entry by the landlord in the case of emergency where no advance notice of entry is required. The subclause carries the same import and it is similar to what is contained in clause 64. I beg to move.
Honourable Minister. That is entry to rented premises by the landlord.
I know members may feel what emergency is. Actually, that's the very nature of an emergency, that because you can't define it now, there's no harm if you put it there. Yes. So we consider to that.
I put a question that
Chair.
clause 50 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say and to the contrary.
Chair.
nay.
Clause 50 as amended.
I now put a question that clause 50 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay.
Clause 51.
I put a question that clause 51 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 52.
I put a question that clause 52 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 53.
I put a question that clause 53 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 54.
I put a question that clause 54 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 55.
Clause 55. I put a question that clause 55 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Schedule 1.
Schedule 1, I put a question that the first stands part of, if Schedule 1 stands as part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Schedule 2.
I put a question that Schedule 2 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Clause 2, the interpretation. Clause 2, the interpretation. That is the definition of business.
Madam Chair, we had an agreement with the minister on this one. And it will be prudent for him to come and give that definition he had.
Madam Chair, the
Minister?
definition we had on business was affected by our subsequent definition of a mixed premises business. Here we're trying to say business includes trade, commerce, profession, employment, and any other activity carried on a person or a body of persons, whether corporate or unincorporated. But what we had proposed for the definition of a mixed premises would include mixed use premises which are used simultaneously for both residential purposes and other purposes out of a home-based business. Now, we thought this is wider than when you go to specify now trade, industry, and so forth. So we had requested that the committee would drop that proposal of a separate definition of a business. That's, I think, what we had agreed. So there wouldn't be any definition elsewhere specified, I think, yes.
So does that mean we are not making an amendment on this?
We're not, no, we were not, according to the discussion we had. But of course, if you see, when you look at the present interpretation definition in the Act, which we propose, business premises in relation to the tenants means premises occupied by the tenant for the purpose of a business carried out by him or her. This is a business premises. Now, business in our definition includes trade, profession or employment, and includes any activity carried on by a body or persons, whether corporate or incorporate. As we put it here in the interpretations, we think this is wider than the one which the committee has proposed. So they would agree that there will be no amendment of this definition of business, and we would carry on the definition as it is in the Act. So essentially, we're saying no amendment in that respect.
Madam Chair, that is the position we agreed on, bearing in mind the definition of business premises and the definition of residential premises, and bringing in the concept of mixed use premises.
What about the one of goodwill? It was dropped also. Okay.
Yes, goodwill we had dropped for the reasons that I stated earlier.
Then I put a question that clause 2 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
The title.
Chair. I put a question that the title stands part of the bill, doesn't favor say aye and to the contrary.
Honourable Chair, if you can get your intelligence, the committee had proposed an amendment on the long title. And with the permission of the chair, if I can read it. You were saying it is.
Let the chair read, then you.
Madam Chair, we had a discussion on this. A long title. Insert the phrase residential, commercial, and industrial, the word premises in the second and last line. Justification, the scope of premises should not be restricted to residential and business premises, and it should cover residential, commercial, and industrial premises. I believe we were deleted, we are talking of mixed. So the title, there is somehow we agreed with it.
We did agree that the interpretation section itself and what the bill entirely covers is enough. So no need to amend the wrong title, no need to do anything with the title.
Madam, amending the title.
Minister.
That's the position, and I agree.
I put a question that the long title of be part of the bill. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. Let's have it.
Motion for the House to resume.
Honourable Minister.
Right, Honourable Chair. I beg to move that the House resumes and the committee of the whole House reports thereto.
Honourable members, I put a question that the House do resume and the committee of the whole House reports thereto. Those in favor say aye and to the contrary, nay.
Report from the Committee of the whole House.
Honourable Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development.
Right, Honourable Speaker. I beg to report that the Committee of the whole House has considered the bill entitled the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2020 and passed the clauses with some amendments, all the schedules with amendments, the long title. I beg to report.
Thank you.
Motion for adoption of the report from the Committee of the whole House.
Honourable Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development.
Right, Honourable Speaker. I beg to move that the report from the Committee of the whole House be adopted. I beg to move.
I now put a question that the report of the Committee of the Whole House be adopted. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Bill third reading.
Honourable Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021 be read the third time and do pass.
I now put a question that the bill titled the Landlord Tenant Bill 2021 be read for the third time and do pass. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act entitled the Landlord and Tenant Act 2022.
Congratulations, Honourable Minister. This bill will go a long way in smoothening and guiding the relationship between landlord and tenancy. Thank you, honourable members.
Right Honourable Speaker, if you could allow me,
Yes.
I would like to thank you, the members of the committee, and all my colleagues in Parliament for passing this bill. We register our gratitude to you all, and we do hope that the bill will achieve its objectives, which we have set in the bill. Thank you very much.
Honourable members, once again, I want to thank you so much for your patience. Imata, I'll give you time to speak. You want to appreciate the minister?
Speaker, I think this is a matter we cannot overlook. Right Honourable Speaker, I've been extremely impressed with the contribution and the participation of the minister in driving this debate, because he has understood the position of the committee, and it has made our work very easy. And Right Honourable Speaker, this this bill which has now been passed is very important. It affects all of us. All of us are either tenants or landlords. So I'm really happy that the minister has not made our life difficult. However, I wanted to raise some issues, but I fear the speaker, she has been very rigid in, and Right Honourable Speaker, my husband went to Mwiri Secondary School, and he used to tell me that in Mwiri, there were two sections of mathematics class, A and B. And so the teacher would always say, have mercy on the B group. So Right Honourable Speaker, I'm begging you to have mercy over the B group. Because when you tell me, Right Honourable Speaker, when the minister tells me that the tenancy agreement must be in writing or by words of mouth. Now, when you are now in a conflict, how do you justify? And yet this is in the law. So I wanted to challenge that, but being in the big group, I didn't want to raise it, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honourable Cecilia, because I have mercy on the big group, that's why I've allowed you to speak, to raise your issue. And honourable members, we just need to appreciate the big group, especially with the age now. You know what is happening. She's our grandmother in the house. And honourable minister, before the Prime Minister comes in, thank you for having knowledge on what you've passed. I really must appreciate, because some people can bring laws here and they don't know what is happening and that, but you really had information and yet you're new in that ministry. I really want to thank you so much. I want to thank the chairman and the committee in general. Members, I also request you members that
the bills that are in your committees, please bring them to the House. And in a special way, I want to thank the Shadow Attorney General for the good work you've done. Now I can see you'll be the next the next Attorney General. Thank you so much. Prime Minister.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Prime Minister, on behalf of the Executive, to thank you in a special way for steering us through where some people had thought it would be so difficult. You simplified, and it was simplified because of your methods of work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also want to take this opportunity to thank the chairperson of the committee and the committee members for working together and agreeing before coming here. We should carry forward this spirit. But in a special, I want to thank the Shadow Attorney General. Please, thank you for the cooperation. Thank you for the time you have put in. I know politicians are busy, but it has also been a busy weekend for you, being that you come from one area where we had a major national activity, sending off one of our gallant sons, but you created time and you worked together with the committee, the speaker, and also the minister. In a special way, I also want to thank the Minister of Urban Development and Physical Planning, representing the Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development. Thank you, like everybody has said before, to understand the subject, both on the side of the tenants, the landlords, but also you as a regulator, and also simplifying our work. Members, I pray that we continue with that spirit. This team has set the bar high. Fellow ministers, let's understand our subjects better to simplify work and easy time and resources for the Ugandans. Thank you so much.
Honorable member, thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. You mean a lot to this country, and you mean a lot to me for sitting with me from the time we came up to this time. It's not an easy thing. And thank you, Prime Minister, for appreciating. There are very few who appreciate. We want to thank you. And we therefore adjourn the House to 2 tomorrow. Thank you.